For this tutorial, we are going to add sleeves and a neckband to the existing t-shirt body that we've created in the previous tutorial. And in this exercise, we will need to scale the t-shirt down so that the final garment with its sleeves can easily fit on the page. And once the first sleeve is drawn, we will copy and reflect it to create the second sleeve. And then we'll change fill colors in the body and sleeves and then build a neckband for it. So our first steps here will be to select our t-shirt body, and we need to scale it down. And we're going to scale it down 50%. We can use our scale tool to do that very precisely. And we want to stay on uniform because we want it to keep the same proportions, horizontal and vertical. So we're just going to type in 50 right there. Down here under options, we're just going to leave them as it should be on the default. If we wanted to, we could click preview, move our little window over, and you can see what that size amount would be. That looks good. We're just going to click OK. Now we're still in our scale tool. If we click again, we may begin to scale some more. So once we have scaled it, then we need to go ahead and select our direct select tool. Will be the next one that we're going to do. And let's click away from everything for a moment. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and use my zoom tool to zoom in. I like to work close in on my items. If you're trying to draw from far out, seeing the whole page, it's very hard to see very precisely where you're at. So always zoom into areas if you're getting ready to work on them. Okay, so there I kind of zoomed in even just a tad bit more. Now, our next plan is to actually copy this curve of our armhole, and I'm going to only want the points that have to do with that armhole, so I'm going to use the direct select arrow, and I'm going to set right outside of this a little bit, click holding my button down on my mouse and drag. See the little dotted marquee window? So I'm making sure my selection will encompass everything on the armhole. Once I have done that, I have got these points. See how they are solid colors right here. The rest are white or not colored, so I do not have those selected. Now I'm going to copy that. I can use my keyboard shortcut, which is Control C for copy. I hold both of those buttons down at the same time. Or you can go to the Edit menu and use them right over here. Once I have copied it, it's on my clipboard. It's sort of invisible. But now to paste it, I can again use a keyboard command. It's Control V, like Valentine. I hold those two buttons down at the same time and it pastes it. Or I can go to my Edit menu over here and scroll down and click on the paste. Keyboard shortcuts are much faster. Now, when we drew our marquee box around these points, and I got these points, what happens is it picks the segments on both sides of those points. So I got my shoulder seam and part of my side seam. I won't need all of those, so we will actually utilize another tool right now and get rid of those. And the tool that we're looking for is our scissor tool. It's behind the eraser tool. So click and hold down the button and pull over here to your menu and get the scissor tool. Now we need to click first on this because we want to cut that segment off of that one. And you can see that now for this path, we have an open path and it's filling it from that endpoint to that endpoint. But now the next one that I want to cut away is the armhole curve from the side seam. So I'll click on this one. And now I have my side seam and it's filling from that endpoint to that endpoint. Let's go ahead and use our selection arrow. We're going to select that segment now, which has been cut away from the curve of the armhole. And I will select it and just click backspace or delete on my keyboard. Same thing for down here, and delete that. And now I have a shape that mimics this exact shape. So I have essentially borrowed that from here. Now I'm going to move this over. I'm not going to exactly put it in place, just keeping it a little bit away from there. And that'll help me be able to visually kind of add to build the rest of my sleeve. So we're going to click away to deselect it. To continue building onto this open path, I'm going to use my pen tool. Remember the little pictures or icons next to our pen tool? If I'm going to start a new drawing, looks like an asterisk. As I get closer to a point, I get a slash mark, which means I can pick up drawing from that point and add to. So I want to make sure that that is correct. And we need to go ahead and get an idea of about 11 of our little squares here out to the right, because we're going to try and make this a long sleeve. And so that's what I'm aiming for when I go to draw this. So I'm going to single click. Now I am adding to this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So about 11 boxes on my grid boxes there. And I'm going to kind of angle it down just a little bit. Single click, and then I'm going to go about 2 boxes down approximately and click, and then I need to, it looks like a completed sleeve, but I don't have a stroke edge here, so I need to close this as one entire closed object. And when my pen gets over to this end point, see the circle shows up next to the pen. I will click to close this entire object. All right. So adjust my page here. So we have completed that. I'm going to click away, holding down my control key, temporarily changes my cursor to the selection arrow, single click, and I have released that. So let's go ahead and use our selection key. We'll go ahead and our tool, we'll come over to that. We just want to change colors of the sleeve so it's a little easier to see some differences here. So I'm going to select this sleeve. Right now my fill color is the overlapping square in my fill and stroke tools. And so that means I'm going to make the change to my fill color. And I'm going to come over here and just pick one so that it definitely looks different. It'll be easier to see this. Now, another thing that I want to do is just check that my long sleeve is approximately as long as my t-shirt body. And we can test that by practicing using our rotate tool. The rotate tool is over here. I can click on it. It will always default my rotating from the center of the object that is selected, which you should have your sleeve selected. But I can change that point where I will rotate from up here to the shoulder. I'm going to single click, and it's hard to tell here, but I do have my little crosshairs in there, and that means that that's the point I will rotate from, my pivot point. So now I'm going to move out here to the end of the sleeve. I'm going to click and hold my mouse key down and swing my sleeve down. And I'm looking to see that it's approximately about as long as my t-shirt, and that's really what I wanted to see right there. It's not longer than the shirt, and it's not super shorter. It's about good. So fine, I'm going to just go ahead and put the sleeve right back where it was, release. That was only done to check, and again as a practice for you to use your rotate tool. Now get your selection tool. You can keyboard shortcut that with V like Valentine. And we want to move this into place so it's actually now touching the other armhole lines. Okay, and you can use your keyboard arrows to nudge things. Okay, when you kind of see where it is, you like that, you can deselect it or select outside of that. Now let's reflect this sleeve so we get a second copy for the other side of the body. Let me move my cursor, pan my page over a little bit here. So we're going to select the sleeve because that's what we want to make the copy of. And the reflect tool is buried under our rotate tool that we just used. So click hold to get its menu, switch to the rotate tool. Once I have selected that tool, I can actually double click it and get some option box here. Now, we want to make a vertical flip or reflection, but I also want it to be a copy because I want my first one to stay in place. So right down here I will just click copy, and they're stacked right on top of each other. I'm still in reflect tool, so I do not want to click anywhere in the document just yet. Go to my selection tool. Now the top one is selected, the sleeve that has been reflected, and I'm actually just going to use my keyboard arrows to move it straight across the t-shirt body. And if I hold my shift key down, it will jump 10 points at a time rather than 1 point at a time. Now as I get across the body, then I will need to let go of the shift key and just use one little arrow click at a time to nudge it into place. Now I have made 2 sleeves for my t-shirt body. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end this tutorial and build a second tutorial for adding the neckband just because we are close to our limit on time. At this point, go ahead and make a save your document so that all your changes are there. We'll go ahead and finish now and watch the next tutorial for adding the neckband.